As Attorney General of California, I took on one of our country's largest for-profit colleges that was scamming students. Donald Trump ran a for-profit college that scammed students. As a prosecutor, I specialized in cases involving sexual abuse. Well, Trump was found liable for committing sexual abuse. As Attorney General of California, I took on the big Wall Street banks and held them accountable for fraud. Donald Trump was just found guilty of fraud on 34 counts.
It was a far cry from Donald Trump's acceptance speech at the Republican National Convention last Thursday night. His 93-minute address pulled off the rare feat of being alarming and weird and, based on the reaction in the room, pretty boring by the end, all at the same time. Where Kamala Harris highlighted Donald Trump's long list of legal troubles, any one of which should be disqualifying for the presidency, Trump had to resort to gaslighting and the politics of projection.
The Democrat Party should immediately stop weaponizing the justice system and labeling their political opponent as an enemy of democracy. Especially since that is not true. In fact, I am the one saving democracy for the people of our country.
Harris, on the other hand, making the case that her campaign is about what she will do for the country in the future, calling her campaign a people-powered campaign for a people-powered presidency. Where Kamala Harris underscored her vision for the country on gun safety, reproductive freedom, just to name a few issues, Donald Trump engaged in fear-mongering over the border, featuring his inexplicable fixation with the fictional villain from the movie Silence of the Lambs.
You know, the press is always on me because I say this. Has anyone seen Silence of the Lambs? The late, great Hannibal Lecter. He'd love to have you for dinner. That's insane asylums.
That late or great, just made up. With the de facto Democratic nominee, there were no weird movie references or tributes to the world's most brutal autocrats, people like Viktor Orban, just the case against Donald Trump and the incredibly toxic and unpopular political positions outlined in Project 2025.
He and his extreme Project 2025 agenda will weaken the middle class. Like, we know we got to take this seriously. Can you believe they put that thing in writing? Read it. It's 900 pages. But here's the thing. When you read it, you will see Donald Trump intends to cut Social Security and Medicare. He intends to give tax breaks to billionaires and big corporations and make working families foot the bill. They intend to end the Affordable Care Act and take us back then to a time when insurance companies had the power to deny people with pre-existing conditions. Remember what that was like? Children with asthma, women who survived breast cancer, grandparents with diabetes. America has tried these failed economic policies before, but we are not going back. We are not going back. Not going back. We're not going back. We are not going back.
The Vice President landing on a bit of a mantra there as she soars into the national political spotlight. As she does that, President Joe Biden is officially passing the torch. Here he is in his first appearance since contracting COVID. He will be addressing the American people about his decision not to seek a second term as president tomorrow night live from the Oval Office. We'll, of course, have full special coverage of that event. It's where we start today with some of our favorite reporters and friends. NBC News Washington correspondent Yamiche Alcindor is out in West Allis, Wisconsin, where Vice President Harris held her first rally today. We're also joined by MSNBC political analyst and senior opinion writer and a columnist for the Boston Globe, Kim McIntyre is here, and Republican strategist and MSNBC political analyst Mike Murphy's here. Yamiche, a bit of history today in this extraordinary election cycle, this extraordinary partner to President Joe Biden, giving her, it's really the second time we've heard her stump speech. She gave a version of this speech yesterday at campaign headquarters in Wilmington, but this was the first rally of this really historic candidacy. And I wonder if you could just take me inside.
Yeah, I want to take you inside now. This is an empty auditorium right now. They're breaking down the stage, but an hour ago, this was filled with a raucous crowd where people were cheering. Some people were getting really, really emotional. There were signs hot off the presses that said Kamala, using her first name, of course, for the Vice President Kamala Harris. There was Beyonce being played, as you can hear. And what she was really talking about was the fact that this is going to be what she called a people-powered campaign. She started off, as you played that sound, talking about the fact that she was really going to prosecute the case against Donald Trump. And she talked about the fact that Trump, she sees him as a fraud, as a cheater, as a predator, and that she's going to feel confident, she is feeling confident that she can beat him. She also really, I think, got the crowd going here. So just inside this room, I can tell you, it was sweltering because people were shoulder to shoulder, and they were shouting things like, lock him up, referring, of course, to former President Donald Trump. But they were also talking about the fact that her vision that she's laying out is not just about Donald Trump. She says, I have a vision for what the future of America could look like. It's inclusive. It puts middle-class people at the center of it. And people also were chanting, don't go back, really talking about the fact that they want to see the future of America that she's laying out. It's also interesting that she was talking a lot about sort of bringing America together. She said that the road to winning the election runs through Wisconsin. So really talking about this critical state where just a few days ago, Republicans were gathered. I was on the highway coming here, and there's a big Trump 2024 billboard. So it really, in some ways, underscores why she wanted to come here, because Republicans have their eyes set here. But today she was really trying to, I think, get the crowd riled up. And I think that in some ways it's going to be the thesis of her campaign. Yesterday, I was at campaign headquarters with her. I flew on Air Force 2 and was at the campaign headquarters. Again, another kind of really raucous crowd. There, people actually had handwritten signs, because some people, it was this all came together so fast that they were actually having to write their signs and having to write her name. So it really tells you that people there were sort of just trying to get their heads around this, but also saying that they were feeling energized. And one thing, as you talk about history, she said that this was the biggest 24-hour fundraising period for any presidential campaign in history. And also her campaign is saying that this was the largest event that the campaign has held when it was the Biden-Harris campaign, now the Harris campaign. So not only is she making history at the top of the ticket, but also just in the organizing and the money that they're able to raise, that is also becoming history-making here. Nicolle.
Let me share some of those details, Yamiche, that you mentioned. Team Harris raised more than $100 million between Sunday afternoon and Monday evening. They have more than 1.1 million unique donors since Sunday, 62% of them first-time donors. That's unprecedented and historic. On the organizing front, 58,000 people signed up to volunteer with the campaign, again, between Sunday afternoon and Monday evening. That's more than 100 times an average day for the campaign. Pretty extraordinary.
It's pretty extraordinary, and it really underscores that the vice president here is going to be leaning on grassroots efforts, leaning on people who are excited about her candidacy to power this candidacy, because of course she has to make up for lost ground. She has only a few weeks before early voting starts here. And I've been talking to people sort of about how this grassroots campaign has come together. And I can tell you on Sunday night, I was up till 3 o'clock in the morning talking specifically to black women, because there was this major Zoom call where 40,000 people showed up, and they raised $1.5 million in 3 hours. And then African-American men said, hey, we're going to have our own call. So they had their own call the next day, and they had 30,000 people on their call and raised more than $1 million. So I'm hearing that other groups are going to want to get their Zoom calls together, but it tells you that this is really a campaign that has people invigorated. And Democrats had a rough few weeks. I've been hearing from my sources. There was a lot of infighting, a lot of just sort of uncertainty, but now they're like, let's focus back on the issue at hand, the mission at hand. And yesterday when she was at the campaign headquarters, Kamala Harris, Vice President Harris, said the top of the ticket has changed, but the mission stays the same. So that really tells you what she's thinking. And also, I want to say, when she was talking to this crowd at the end of her speech, she said, we have a lot of work to do. She said, we have doors to knock on, we have calls to make, we have work to do. So that also tells you that she's not just saying, I'm going to win this election. She's putting it to the voters, saying they are going to win this election with her. Nicolle.
Yamiche Alcindor, I know you have planes to catch and motorcades to make and cars to ride in. Thank you very much for sticking around to bring us your reporting. We're really grateful. Kim, let me start with you. Last time you were here, you had a message. We replayed it. I mean, just about fighting, about your message really pleading with Democrats to fight. The ticket has changed. It's undergone a transformation. But Kamala Harris seems very ready for the fight. I wonder how you think the first couple days have gone and how you're feeling about everything that's transpired since we last talked.
Yeah, what has transpired in the last 48 hours is that not only has Kamala Harris demonstrated her ability and willingness and readiness to fight, but so have Democrats. I've been speaking with Democrats for the last 48 hours, too. And those who had been working long and hard on behalf of President Biden, those who had, some of them were disillusioned, and others, all of them today are excited. They are hopeful, and they are ready to take the case against Donald Trump. I admit I am surprised even at the swiftness with which Democrats, within the campaign and activists and groups and others have unified, and they're ready because they know that there is hard work ahead. There are still a lot of voters who still want to know more about her, still want to see a process play out on the way to the convention. And so she has a lot of ground to make up with good old shoe leather. I don't want to imply that this is locked up and this is done or this will be easy, but the amount of energy that is represented in that fundraising, that is represented in all these Zoom calls that have been going on, that has been represented in just the early snap polling, is exactly what Democrats needed going into the convention. They could not let all of the momentum be taken up by the Republicans who could sort of glide while the Democrats were fighting. And so this is the fight that they need. If they can keep it up, Kamala Harris certainly can be a winning candidate.
Mike Murphy, the laws of campaigns where a single debate or a single interview could shift the momentum have changed. It takes something seismic, but this is something seismic, and it feels like that momentum shift has gone in the other direction. There's some great reporting from our friend Tim Alberta about the political hangover they're experiencing post-J.D. Vance, post-Milwaukee. Let me share that with you. Republicans I spoke with today, Tim Alberta reports, some of them still hung over from celebrating what felt to many like a victory night celebration in Milwaukee, registered shock at the news of Biden's departure. Party officials had left town believing the race was all but over. Now, they were confronting the reality of reimagining a campaign, one that had been optimized in every way to defeat Biden against a new and unknown challenger. They know that from the moment they partnered with Trump, everything they intended for this campaign, the messaging, the advertising, the micro-targeting, the ground game, the mail pieces, the digital engagement, the social media maneuvers, was designed to defeat Joe Biden. Even the selection of Ohio's Senator J.D. Vance as Trump's running mate, campaign officials acknowledged was something of a luxury, meant to run up margins with the base in a blowout, rather than persuade swing voters in a nail-biter. You can't, I mean, I guess we should never say never with Donald Trump. You can't unselect a VP, but certainly someone like Nikki Haley, who was still polling 20 to 30% of Republican primary voters from Donald Trump weeks after she abandoned her candidacy, might have made a little more sense in hindsight.
Yeah, I don't know if he ever would have gone there. He wanted to pick a younger version of himself. I mean, what I think is happening, and I don't think the Trump people were dumb enough not to think that Joe Biden might give up the ticket. Remember, Biden was losing the campaign before that big debate. That was the seminal event. And then the pressure was building. I wrote an op-ed in the New York Times about it. There are a lot of us in the never Trump world who respect Joe Biden a lot, but knew Donald Trump would beat him. So if the Trump campaign had decided that life is kind and you get to win for free, yeah, they're incredibly disappointed. But the phenomenon in the Democratic Party is fascinating. They've gone from a sense of total despair to this neck-snapping enthusiasm now. I mean, that is a massive amount of money that came flowing in, and volunteers and everything you talked about. And that energy is a very good thing. It's also flipped the campaign a bit because now Donald Trump is the old guy. So Kamala Harris, and I thought her speech yesterday was very strong, framed it right, which is now it's future versus past. And that is a very good debate for her. Now, this prosecutor stuff is great for the Democratic troops to show she's a fighter, but she's taking a risk with it because her record as a DA in San Francisco and later California AG, it can be attacked from the right and the left. I would be careful about betting all my campaign chips on that. The winner for her is future, past, Dobbs decision, those sorts of things. And what we're seeing now, and hopefully from her point of view, she can sustain it, is a much better performance as a candidate than when she ran for president herself in a campaign that was kind of a gold standard for disasters. So, you know, She's in an interesting position now to completely reset the race. Trump's having a nervous breakdown. He doesn't know how to handle her. Forget his managers. You know, when Trump hits the rocks, he doesn't listen to anybody except his own instincts, which with her might be very, very bad. So this is a whole new race than where we were 24 hours ago. I would still say Trump is the narrow front runner, but she has a hell of a shot, and now she's going to be the money candidate. She's going to be able to compete. And if she can keep it on future past, not make it about race, Obama was very smart about that, not necessarily make it a backwards referendum on her work as DA in a progressive city, but do middle-class economics, future past, and Dobbs' decision with the right VP pick. This is going to be one hell of a race now. It's a whole new world from the convention for the Republicans.
Kim, I want to show you what Senator Schumer and Leader Jeffries had to say today.
When I spoke with her Sunday, she said she wanted the opportunity to win the nomination on her own and to do so from the grassroots up, not top down. We deeply respected that, Hakeem and I did. She said she would work to earn the support of our party, and boy, has she done so.
President Joe Biden has made the selfless decision to pass the torch to Vice President Kamala Harris, who is ready, willing, and able to lead us into the future. Kamala Harris and her candidacy has excited and energized the House Democratic Caucus, the Democratic Party, and the nation. Vice President Harris has earned the nomination from the grassroots up and not the top down.
Kim, you referenced being surprised at the unity around her. I felt like it was pent up. You know, the desire to be united, I don't think was ever lacking with President Joe Biden because the agenda is so popular. He's so beloved. But it almost it's sort of the next level beyond unity. It's this sort of workhorse, not show horse mentality, which I think when you take some of the real political dynamics into play that Mike is talking about, seems to be the vice president seems to speak from a place where she has really taken in the landscape of the general election. She understands what her message is. She understands message discipline, and she's an extraordinary candidate on the trail. Just take me inside sort of the confidence game, how confident you're feeling about the sustainability of this level of both performance and unity.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, let me be clear. I was not saying for one moment that I did not think that Kamala Harris would be a fantastic presidential candidate in this moment. I was uncertain about the Democratic, particularly those who were calling for Biden's ouster, ability to steer the ship in a way that would bring everyone on board after all that disruption we've seen in the past. That hasn't always happened, but it certainly has happened in part because of the kind of candidate Kamala Harris is. Look, she has experience in winning on local, statewide, and national tickets. She is somebody who has won elections, including the election to beat Donald Trump. She is good on the campaign trail. I went back and looked at her debate with Mike Pence, and she was excellent at that. She actually has a record. She was one of the people in charge. She really led in the White House after the Dobbs decision, the plan of action to protect reproductive rights. She was for gay marriage while people, including Barack Obama, were still talking civil unions. I mean, she has the resume, she has the chops. She's a very good candidate here, and I'm glad that that enthusiasm has rallied behind her because it's coming from different places. It's coming from folks who have always been fans of hers. It's coming from folks who trust Joe Biden and know that she has been his partner in this administration. It's coming from folks who voted for Joe Biden in 2020, but was hoping for some other, that he was transitional, as he said, and was hoping for someone with more energy to come in. And now that they've got it, now they've got that. So that's what they have. A couple of things I just want to say to Mike's point. I do think the future versus the past. I mean, Donald Trump's own slogan is still make America great again. And we know that means send America back to the 1950s or before. And this is a clear way to distinguish from that. But I think both on her being a prosecutor, I think that that's excellent because you have a lot of Democrats right now who are frustrated that the actual prosecutions of Donald Trump have been attacked, stymied, and thwarted, and one tossed out entirely because they wanted to see some accountability. And Joe Biden was unable to do that in a sense because he wanted to keep distance between himself and the Justice Department in an understandable way. Kamala Harris is a prosecutor from long before she's been in the White House, and she is able to do exactly what she is doing in saying, I know crooks, frauds, and cheats like Donald Trump. I've dealt with them, and I can deal with them there. I think that's an excellent line. And in terms of making it about race, the Republicans have already made it about race. They have called her a DEI hire. They have a former Trump official called her colored. Republicans are making this about race, and I think Democrats have to have a clear message to blunt that. They can't ignore that at all. That they do that to their peril.
I have to come down on the way you see that. I also think the idea that the prosecutions haven't also been impacted by race. I mean, Donald Trump has smeared every prosecutor and judge that has sought to hold him accountable under the rules that the three of us have to live by with brutally obnoxious racist smears. So some of that is already underway. Kim, you mentioned the Pence-Harris debate, and Pence's fly joined our segment. We have a special guest standing by, so I'm going to have to hit pause right here. Mike Murphy, thank you for starting us off. Kim will be back on the other side of this. When we come back, one of the first humans to come out and support Vice President Kamala Harris over the weekend was Congressman Jim Clyburn, whose 2020 endorsement of President Joe Biden was pivotal to his victory. He joins us next. Plus, does Team Trump have a bit of buyer's remorse, as we've been discussing, when it comes to their VP pick? It shouldn't be a surprise, certainly isn't to us. We'll look at who the Harris campaign might be looking at for her running mate. There are some sober-minded, serious, and experienced officials up against a man who backs violent marriages and can't seem to tell a joke. The already sharp contrast there coming into focus even more. Just like that, Donald Trump is now the oldest candidate in the room. We have all those stories and more when Deadline White House continues after a quick break. Don't go anywhere.
Hey, with Priceline VIP Family, you can unlock deals 5 times faster. You don't even have to be an actual family.
Oh, I'd be the dad.
I'm the dad. Hey, physically, it's clear that I'm the dad.
Okay, so which dad is paying?
You're the dad.
Go to your happy price, Priceline.
This is a keepsake frame. This is actually a photo from my wedding. I'm Adam Weiss, founder and CEO of Keepsake, the mobile app that makes it easy to have your photos printed, framed, and shipped to your doorstep. You just choose a photo that you love. You can preview it in over 100 frames, and in a couple of days, you're going to receive your photo in a beautiful handmade frame. So if you've got a special photo on your phone, install the free Keepsake app. We would love a chance to frame it for you.
Doctors recommend Nicolle stool softener for gentle, dependable relief from constipation. It's so gentle, doctors even recommend it during pregnancy and after surgery. Nicolle's increases water in the stool, making it softer so it's easier to go. No harsh laxatives, cramping, or straining. Nicolle's.
Liberty Mutual customized my car insurance, and I saved hundreds. With all the money I saved, I thought I'd buy stilts. Being so tall definitely has its advantages.
Oh, wow.
Here you go, kiddo.
Thanks.
Hi, honey. Ready to go? Yep. There it is. There it is. There we go. I guess it also has some disadvantages.
Yes, it does.
Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Do you owe money to the IRS? Listen to how Optima Tax Relief helped these people put their tax debt to rest.
I got into a financial pickle with my back taxes.
I owed the IRS $66,000.
It's a horrible feeling. You know, at some point in time, I knew the IRS was going to be coming looking for me.
I was paralyzed with fear.
Optima got me a settlement with the IRS.
The team at Optima Tax Relief settled my IRS tax bill.
It was every bit of a new lease on life for me, to be able to get that burden off my shoulders.
They really cleared the path for me to have a fresh start, and I will be forever grateful.
And I'm still amazed. I tell the story, people do not believe me, and I have paperwork to prove it.
For your free consultation, call 800-357-8365. That's 800-357-8365.
Optima Tax Relief.
Super Beta Prostate is the #1 urologist-recommended prostate supplement. And now, you can find it in every Walmart nationwide. Don't ignore your prostate health. Get Super Beta Prostate.
After Homoglow cleaned our place for $19, we fired our old housekeeper. Homoglow tackled everything, from our kitchen to our bathroom, all our laundry. You just pick a date, pick a cleaner, and enjoy a spotless house for $19.
Saturday, September 7th, Brooklyn, New York. It's MSNBC Live Democracy 2024, our premier live audience event. Maddow, Psaki, Reed, Hayes, Kornacki, and more. Visit msnbc.com/democracy2024 to buy your tickets.
We're expecting maybe 1,000 people on there. 1,000 women and black women have convened this call for actually almost the last 4 years. It was founded by Joteka Edie and called Win with Black Women. And there were over 45,000. I like to tell people we broke the internet. I've gotten those phone calls around the country. As a matter of fact, there are some candidates that have, since Kamala has announced running, there's been an increase in their fundraising, right? I think that I think women are activated.
Women are activated. That was Latasha Brown, founder of the group Black Voters Matter, on the wave of enthusiasm for Vice President Kamala Harris as she takes on Donald Trump, which appears to be lifting candidates down ballot as well, she said there. Joining our coverage, Democratic Congressman Jim Clyburn of South Carolina, who has endorsed Vice President Harris for president. Congressman, thank you so much for being here. The conversation in private over the last 4 weeks has really revolved around you and where your thoughts are and where your heart is. And I know you're one of the closest advisors and dear friends to President Joe Biden. Just tell us your understanding of how this came to be, this extraordinary political sacrifice from a man who spent his life in public service and really laying his hands on his trust, his confidence in his Vice President Kamala Harris, something that has just taken off with as my colleague Rachel likes to say, making weather of its own.
Well, thank you very much for having me. As you know, last week I spent 2 full days in Nevada with President Biden. We did the NAACP National Convention together, the largest convention they've ever had, the National Bar Association, which is basically the black bar, and some other meetings together with Steve Horsford, the congressman from that area. And as I interacted with President Biden, having been around him as much as I've been for so many years, I knew he was in deep contemplation. And so when I got the call from him on Sunday, before he went public with his announcement, I was not surprised at all. And I told him that I was in complete agreement with his decision, and that I would hope that as he made his exit from the campaign, that he would reinforce his very first decision that he made when he became our nominee, and that was to pick a running mate. He picked Kamala Harris after extensive vetting, and he said at the time that he thought that she had what it took to step into the office on a moment's notice if anything were to happen to him. And so I said to him, I would hope you would reinforce that when you leave the stage. And he told me that he would put out a separate statement, maybe 30 minutes after the first one, to let his feelings be known about the nomination. And that's what he did. And I'm very pleased that he selected her, because I've been saying for weeks now, if for any reason he were to exit the stage, I would, in fact, support Kamala Harris to be our nominee.
One of the things that people who don't watch these two principals very closely might have missed is their genuine affection for one another. And I think it's disorienting for folks on the other side, because Donald Trump left his vice president to be, quote, hung, end quote, on January 6th. But we all got to see it yesterday when President Biden called into the event at Wilmington headquarters. And you could hear it from the second gentleman, Doug Emhoff. You heard it from the vice president and the president sort of riffing with each other. He said, "I'm watching you, kid." What is your what do you envision for the next 100 days? How can President Biden make sure that Vice President Harris prevails in November?
Well, he's going to do everything he possibly can to help her in this election. I listened to those conversations on yesterday, and I've been around the two of them. They do have genuine affection for each other. And I've noticed Jill seemed to feel the same way about Kamala as well. And so I think you're going to see a campaign full of love and affection, demonstrating to the American people what a real campaign ought to be about. Focus on the future. She is leaning into the future of this great country of ours. We don't need to make this country great. It's already great. What we've got to do, I've been saying forever, is to make the greatnesses of this country accessible and affordable for all of its citizens. And that's what Joe Biden has done his entire career. It is all wrapped up in his legislative programs that he's been so successful with. And she is going to wrap herself up into those programs as well. She has a tremendous platform. It is called the record of the Biden-Harris administration. It is a platform that she can run on. And it's a platform that I think she would succeed by running on it. So I think he will lean in heavily on her behalf. Those of us who are in this effort, now it's time for us to go to work. I think we have a candidate now. She has the votes that are necessary to make it official when the voting starts somewhere after August 1st. And we need to start planning now as to how we will get those people who aren't registered to vote, and those people who are in fact registered, get them to the polls to vote. That we must not take for granted, because there are forces who would love to take this country backward. Not just back, but backward. And we have got to guard against that.
Congressman, what do you What do you hope to hear tomorrow night when your friend, President Joe Biden, addresses the nation?
You know, I usually, for big events like this, I try to go home and sit alone to watch and listen. I think that's what I'm going to do tomorrow night. And I often joke with people that that's what I do in election nights, because I don't want anybody to see me cry if the results call for that. That's how I'm going to be tomorrow night. I'm going to watch this alone because I don't want anybody to see me cry. Because it will be a very emotional time for me to see Joe Biden give what will be his swan song. And quite frankly, it makes me a little bit emotional to even talk about it.
You just made me cry. I mean, I worry sometimes that we've changed as a country because we've covered so much hardening and so much hate. And the affection that you and President Biden have for each other, and that President Biden and Vice President Harris and that you have with both of them, is one of the beautiful things that I think makes people still believe and still fight and do all the things that you just articulated. Your place in all of this is so important and so vital, and probably by your design, probably a bit of a mystery to the public, but we're on to you. So we'll respect your privacy tomorrow. We'll respect your privacy tomorrow night, but we hope to call on you early and often in the coming days and weeks. Congressman Jim Clyburn, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, I didn't have crying at 37 after the hour on my bingo card, but so it has come to pass. Up next for us, Democrats last week were rightly sounding the alarm bells, calling out Donald Trump's vice presidential pick for his extremism. This week, as Republicans are now wondering, wait a minute, who's this guy? We'll have that conversation next.
The itch and rash of moderate to severe eczema disrupts my skin night and day. Despite treatment, it's still not under control. But now I have Rinvoq. Rinvoq is a once-daily pill that reduces the itch and helps clear the rash of eczema fast. Some Rinvoq patients felt significant itch relief as early as 2 days. Some achieved dramatic skin clearance as early as 2 weeks. And many taking Rinvoq saw clear or almost clear skin.
Rinvoq can lower your ability to fight infections, including TB. Serious infections and blood clots, some fatal. Cancers, including lymphoma and skin. Heart attack, stroke, and GI tears occurred. People 50 and older with a heart disease risk factor have an increased risk of death. Serious allergic reactions can occur. Tell your doctor if you are or may become pregnant.
Help heal your painful skin. Disrupt the itch and rash of eczema. Talk to your doctor about Rinvoq.
Learn how AbbVie can help you save.
Can you do this? As early as your 40s, you may lose muscle and strength. Protein supports muscle health. Ensure Max Protein has a 30-gram blend of high-quality protein to feed muscles for up to 7 hours. So take the challenge. Ensure nutrition for strength and energy.
Did you know Sling has your favorite news programs for just $40 a month?
My favorite news for just $40 a month?
My favorite news for just $40 a month?
News for $40 a month. Sling lets you do that.
This is how AG1 works to deliver foundational nutrition that tastes great, too. With AG1, quality comes first. Using subtly fruity flavor from the essences of pineapple and vanilla, with no added sugars or artificial sweeteners. Look forward to your morning routine and start your day with great taste. Upgrade your daily habit today at drinkag1.com.
Hi, I'm Jay Jackson. For almost 20 years, Abacus Life has been purchasing life insurance policies from seniors. And in just seconds, you can use the free calculator at abacuspays.com to learn what your policy might be worth.
For many of my clients, selling their life insurance to Abacus was right for them and their estate plan.
Don't sell or lapse your policy without going to abacuspays.com first. There are no fees and no obligations. Get the real value from your life insurance when you need it with Abacus.
In just 1 year, I had over $900 in banking fees, and I had enough. I realized just how much money I could save That's when I found Chime, and I signed up immediately. There's no overdraft fees, no monthly fees, and over 60,000 fee-free ATMs. Just by banking with Chime, I'm saving hundreds of dollars a year, and I'm using that extra money for my daughter's future. For a normal guy like me, I've given myself a small raise. Join me at Chime.com.
The all-new GoDaddy Aero helps you get your business online in minutes with the power of AI. With the perfect name, a great logo, and a beautiful website. Just start with a domain, a few clicks, and you're in business. Make now the future at GoDaddy.com/Aero.
You've considered buying Balance of Nature long enough. Here is our best discount ever. Get 50% off your first set when you order as a preferred customer and use discount code LOVE. This offer is being extended.
It is the weirdest thing to me. Democrats say that it is racist to believe, well, they say it's racist to do anything. I had a Diet Mountain Dew yesterday and one today. I'm sure they're going to call that racist too, but it's good. I love you guys.
I don't know. Still working on the jokes, maybe? Crowds seem to go, huh? Whatever that was. One thing is clear. Of all the people Donald Trump could have picked to replace the vice president he left for dead on January 6th, J.D. Vance was certainly one of them. Such cringe-inducing moments aside, it appears some Trump allies are already second-guessing having J.D. Vance's name on the ticket. Our friend at The Atlantic, Tim Alberta, reported as much, adding the people he spoke to acknowledged the selection was, quote, born of cockiness, meant to run up margins with the base in a blowout. But things are very different since Sunday afternoon at 1:46 p.m. Clearly, Trump built a campaign designed to beat President Joe Biden, but it is Vice President Kamala Harris assembling her team now. NBC News cites two sources familiar with the effort in reporting the Harris campaign has requested vetting materials from 5 possible running mates for their teams. That's North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper, Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona, Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. There appear to be a number of other names under consideration as well, all of whom illustrate the difference between the two campaigns. Listen.
Listen, Donald Trump brings chaos to everything he does. Think about it. I was Attorney General when he was president before. I spent more time with my team in court trying to protect people's rights because Donald Trump was trying to rip them away.
J.D. Vance is a phony. He's fake. I mean, he first says that Donald Trump is like Hitler, and now he's acting like he's Lincoln. I mean, the problem with J.D. Vance is he has no conviction, but I guess his running mate has 34.
If you want a nominee who can put Donald Trump's destruction of Roe v. Wade at center stage, if you want a nominee who actually prosecuted criminals like Donald Trump, and if you want a nominee who can put Trump's age and fitness into forefront, Kamala Harris is the person.
Joining our conversation, editor for The Plain Dealer and Cleveland.com, Chris Quinn is back, who early on stressed the importance of calling out the lies Donald Trump and his allies tell. Kim is still with us. Chris, take me inside how you have covered and how you think the events of the last 48 hours have been received among your readers.
It's a good time to talk. We had a brainstorm session in the newsroom today to talk about what we're going to do. We have not had a candidate from Ohio figure into the presidential race in forever. And so we want to do a whole lot of stuff. And the themes that emerge are so much about who is he? I remember in 2016, after his book, Hillbilly Elegy, came out, all of the business community in Cleveland thought he would be the future centrist Republican of Ohio. And they had a big event, packed, where he did a panel discussion, talked about what he would do, and he was not the hateful, invective-spewing guy. He looked out and he saw about 20 black people in the audience. He goes, you know, our story is the same. My story is your story. He was embracing them. There was none of the confrontational stuff, and people were excited that he could be the future. What happened in 2020, it just turned upside down. He became this invective-spewing guy that nobody recognizes. So who is he? Is this his evolution because he's a young guy and the more he learns, he becomes this? or is it rank opportunism where he's trying to do it? The best example is abortion. Just a few months ago, dead set against abortion. Now he supports the abortion pill. How do you make that leap? Is that him representing what Ohioans want, which they demonstrated at the ballot box last year? Or is it to get the fealty of Donald Trump? And I don't know the answer.
You know, Chris, you raise a good point. I mean, he's from your state, and so understanding who he is of utmost importance, even more than the horse race and up and down and whether he helps or hurts the ticket. It's a good reminder for all of us, and admonition is how I take it. And I know you didn't mean it that way. But it gets at perhaps the most politically damaging part of the story for him. I mean, I have posted this show for feels like 99 years. I think it's about 8. And I've spoken to a lot of people with a lot of concerns that Donald Trump is corrupt and extrajudicial and has broken a lot of laws. They've never described him as harshly as J.D. Vance did, as America's Hitler, as cultural heroin. He flat out said he believed Donald Trump's accusers of sexual assault and sexual misconduct. A person who found Donald Trump more odious, if they existed, they haven't appeared on my show, which is 2 hours long, and I've been doing this 5 days a week for 8 years. What are the local theories about how you could hate someone so much and then bow down to them?
When his book came out, I don't think he had higher office in mind. It was the others in Ohio that saw him and his message and thought he could be in higher office. As he moved in that direction, he turned it down in 2018. We had a candidate that was the odds-on candidate, a guy named Josh Mandel, and he dropped out without notice. And they tried to get Vance to run then, but he didn't want to because he didn't want to spend all that time in Washington. At least that's what he said. But as time has gone on, he's decided he really wants to be in these positions of power. And it looks like he'll say or do anything to get it. I'm a little bit confused as to why Trump chose him, because Trump is going to win Ohio. We've looked at the Obama numbers when he won and the Trump numbers when he won, and Trump got a lot more votes with fewer registered voters. I don't think Ohio can be in play at all. So he didn't need Vance to get Ohio. I think he wanted him for his young looks to pose against Biden, but now he's stuck.
He is stuck, Kim. And again, for the second time in 3 days, it is Vice President Kamala Harris who holds all the cards. She can make this selection, and she will do what is normal. I feel like it's 48 after, and I haven't reminded folks that what Trump does is not normal, but she'll pick someone who she would like to have as a governing partner. She has an opportunity in all of these great names that are being floated to also pick someone who is a good strategic choice. Do you have any thoughts or favorites or analysis about the names that have surfaced?
I think that they are all, I think Democrats are lucky that they have a very deep bench of folks who I think would make a very strong running mate choice. I think for Kamala Harris, one benefit she has is she's been vice president. She knows what the job is. So I think that, more than anything, will inform who she picks. Yes, the traditional things we think about, like what state you're from and how you build a coalition. I'm not saying that that's unimportant, but I think time has shown that that's perhaps less important than people think. I think she is trying to put together a team, and she knows what it takes to be a vice president as part of a successful administration, and that's going to be front of mind. As for Trump, my sense is he picked J.D. Vance because Trump is not a strategist. He doesn't care about winning Ohio. He has enough of an ego that he thinks he's going to win no matter who's next to him, right? He's thinking about Mike Pence and how even though Mike Pence spent 4 years, save one day, standing behind him, looking onto him lovingly, that one day that he defied him is still stuck in his craw. And he has seen the way that J.D. Vance has totally done an about-face or a two-face or whatever you want to call it, to go from that moderate Ohio author to somebody who is expresses more fealty to Trump than ever. And that's exactly what Trump was looking for in this. He may come to regret it, but that's how he got there.
Let me share this email with you, Kim, from the Harris campaign. They put out this in part. In a 2016 interview on Trump's sexual misconduct, J.D. Vance said it was hard to believe Trump's denials over Jessica Leeds, a woman who accused Trump of groping and forcibly kissing her. Vance in 2016, quote, at a fundamental level, this is sort of a he said, she said, right? And at the end of the day, do you believe Donald Trump, who always tells the truth? Just kidding, said Vance sarcastically. Or do you believe the woman on the tape, he said, referring to Leeds. Also in 2016, Vance tweeted this, quote, what percentage of the American population has Donald Trump sexually assaulted? Let me read that again. Vance tweeted, quote, what percentage of the American population has real Donald Trump sexually assaulted? He didn't just describe his political toxicity, Kim. He believed in 2016 that he was guilty of sexual assault. It deepens Chris's journey to understand who and what is J.D. Vance.
It really does. I mean, it just shows how the desire for power can really be corrupting. You know, I mean that in the literal and figurative sense of that. He is now the running mate of somebody who has been found liable in court for sexual abuse. And that's okay with him now. And he's taken on a lot of his rhetoric, either because he thinks it is politically advantageous to him or he's become a true believer. And either way, that has him on the stage in one breath accusing people of calling him racist for nothing, but in another breath saying that all Kamala Harris has done is collect a government check. So I can't explain this completely because I don't fully understand it, but we've seen it before.
Kim, thank you so much for spending the hour with us. Chris, I want to put you on the spot and ask you to come back often as this campaign plays on. It's a treat to get to talk to you. Thank you. Thank you both so much. Another break for us. We're going to sneak in a short one, and then we'll be back with more.
It won't be hard to find someone to fix this. But before I started Angie's List, different story. A lot has changed for us at Angie since then, but the issues facing homeowners are the same. And the solution, too. Skilled local pros. Get started at Angie.com.
Hey, I'm Brian Gary, and today we're talking about the biggest misconception there is about replacement windows. I'm here with Ted Coons, the project manager for Renewal by Andersen, to talk about it.
Yeah, one of the big things we hear from homeowners is, I shouldn't need to replace my windows, they're just not that old. But here's the thing, home builders put in high-end kitchens and bathrooms and low-end windows that just aren't that good. So even if your windows are only 7 to 10 years old, they may still need to be replaced.
Ted, there's so many window companies out there. What's different about your company?
Well, besides being the full-service replacement window division of Andersen, we're the company people tend to call when they're particular about their home. They don't want just any old window or any old installer.
So your standards for installers are pretty high, right?
Yeah, Brian, you could have the best window or door in the world, and if it's not installed correctly, it's going to fail. So we don't hire these jack-of-all-trades installers that do gutters and siding on the side. Our window installation teams do our windows year in, year out, and have done thousands of them.
Anytime a homeowner has to deal with multiple home improvement companies, they get stuck in the blame game.
Yeah, with other companies, if there's an issue, the manufacturer blames the installer blames the manufacturer. With us, there's no finger pointing or blaming each other. We're both the installer and the manufacturer.
Ted, is it easy for a homeowner to get a price?
Very easy. We'll come out to your house, we'll assess your current patio door or windows, and then we'll give you an exact price that's good for an entire year.
Ted, that's great information. Thank you.
Before July 31st, buy one window, patio door, or entry door and get the next one 40% off. That's 40% off with a minimum purchase of 4. And our financing can help make this project more affordable with no money down, no monthly payments, and no interest for 12 months. This offer ends July 31st. For a free appointment with Renewal by Andersen, call 1-800-460-7700.
My mental health was better, but uncontrollable movements called TD, tardive dyskinesia, started disrupting my day.
TD felt embarrassing. I felt like disconnecting. I asked my doctor about treating my TD and learned about Ingrezza.
Ingrezza is clinically proven for reducing TD.
Most people saw results in just 2 weeks. People taking Ingrezza can stay on most mental health meds. Only #1 prescribed Ingrezza has simple dosing for TD. Always 1 pill once daily. Ingrezza can cause depression, suicidal thoughts, or actions in patients with Huntington's disease. Pay close attention to and call your doctor if you become depressed, have sudden changes in mood, behaviors, feelings, or have thoughts of suicide. Don't take Ingrezza if you're allergic to its ingredients. Ingrezza may cause serious side effects including angioedema, potential heart rhythm problems, and abnormal movements. Report fevers, stiff muscles, or problems thinking, as these may be life-threatening. Sleepiness is the most common side effect.
Take control.
Story. And when we come back, another look at the oldest candidate to ever run for president. The next hour of Deadline White House starts after a quick break. Don't go anywhere.
It won't be hard to find someone to fix this. But before I started Angie's List, different story. A lot has changed for us at Angie since then, but the issues facing homeowners are the same. And the solution too, skilled local pros. Get started at Angie.com.
Pod's biggest sale of the summer is extended. Save up to 25% on moving and storage until August 12th. And see why Pods has been trusted with over 6 million moves. But don't wait. Use promo code BIG25 to save. Visit pods.com today.
Bordery ships the only fully arranged cheese and charcuterie boards nationwide, so you can send the perfect birthday gift, customizable with any age, shipped to your door. With boards for every occasion, Bordery is guaranteed to impress. Send the perfect gift at Bordery.com.
Some days you can feel like a spectator in your own life with chronic migraine. 15 or more headache days a month, each lasting 4 hours or more. Botox prevents headaches in adults with chronic migraine before they start. And treatment is 4 times a year. In a survey, 91% of users wish they'd started sooner. So why wait? Talk to your doctor.
Effects of Botox may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away, as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness can be signs of a life-threatening condition. Side effects may include allergic reactions, neck and injection site pain, fatigue, and headache. Don't receive Botox if there's a skin infection. Tell your doctor your medical history, muscle or nerve conditions, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects.
Chronic migraine may still keep you from being there. Why wait? Talk to your doctor about Botox and get in the picture. Learn how AbbVie can help you save.
When we say it'll be on time, they expect it to be on time.
Turn shipping to your advantage.
Keep those expectations with reliable ground shipping.
Thanks, Brandon.
With USPS Ground Advantage.
At Care.com, it's easy to get a break, even if you're not on summer vacation. Join millions of families who've trusted us and find caregivers in your area for kids, seniors, pets, and homes. Go to Care.com now to find the care you need this summer.
I have a structured settlement and call J.G. Wentworth, 877 cash now.
I have an annuity, but I need cash now.
Call J.G. Wentworth, 877 cash now.
It's your money. Use it when you need it.
Call J.G. Wentworth, 877.
Call 877 cash now to get a $100 gift card for a free quote.
After Homoglow cleaned our place for $19, we fired our old housekeeper. Homoglow tackled everything, from our kitchen to our bathroom, all our laundry. You just pick a date, pick a cleaner, and enjoy a spotless house for $19.
Morning Joe, weekdays 6 to 10 on MSNBC.
is also about two different visions for our nation. One, where we are focused on the future. The other, focused on the past. We believe in a future where every person has the opportunity not just to get by, but to get ahead. Building up the middle class will be a defining goal of my presidency.
Hi again, everyone. It's 5 o'clock in the East. My, how the tables have turned. For all the attacks from Donald Trump and his allies against President Joe Biden's age and mental acuity, now it is the Republican nominee who has the age problem. In fact, Trump is now the oldest presidential nominee in American history. And as the last day and a half have shown us, his opposition will likely be Vice President Kamala Harris, a woman under the age of 60.